Good morning and welcome to this licensing hearing panel. The first item on the agenda is to elect a chairperson. Can I have any nominations, please?
Can I nominate Councillor MacDonald, please?
I can second that.
Thank you very much, members, and good morning to today's panel. Are there any apologies for absence at all? No apologies?
Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Julie.
So Councillor Sands, as our fourth member, is sitting on the panel.
Thank you very much. I've got minutes that I've signed outside of this meeting. That's okay, members? Agreed? Yep, that's okay. I have no urgent matters of any special circumstance. Are there any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests or other significant interests on today's agendas for members? Thank you very much, members. I'm now going to, can I just introduce ourselves as well? So let's just go round. Councillor Brown?
I'm Councillor Brown. I'm a panel member.
I'm Sue Lovell, local resident.
I'm Maureen Crombie, local resident.
I'm Hardish Purewal, Head of Licensing for Tesco.
Myself.
I'm Franco Di Fazio, Senior Licensing Officer.
I'm Venky Krishnan, I'm the Legal Advisor.
I'm Julie Francis Beard, I'm the clerk to the panel.
Councillor Ron Snap.
Thank you, everybody. Can I now, and I'm Councillor MacDonald, I'm the chair today. So just to explain, these are very temperamental, these mics, but we do need you just to press it once and press it on, because then even the live stream will pick you up. So make sure it can hear what you're saying. So if you don't use the microphone, they won't be able to hear what you're saying. So sometimes you might have to say, can you turn your mic on, or can you turn it off? Please don't think I'm having a go at you. It's just to make sure when yours is on, others won't be able to turn on. Okay, thank you. Franco, going to you to present the case, today's licensing case.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. On the 27th of August, licensing received a new application for a premises licence for Tesco's Express at 614 Lordswood Lane, Chatham, Kent, postcode ME5 8QX. The application is for the sale by retail of alcohol for off sales, and that's from Monday to Sunday from 6 a.m. till midnight, and in addition for late night refreshment for Monday to Sunday, and that is from 2300 hours to midnight. The application has been advertised at the venue, in the local paper and on the website in accordance with the regulations. The application is attached to the report at Appendix A, and this can be found on page 11. The plans for the venue are attached at Appendix B, which is on page 29. Images of the building are contained at Appendix C. These can be found on page 33. The matter has been put to the licensing hearing panel following objections received from members of the public. These objections can be found on page 35 at Appendix D in the report. There have been no representations from the responsible authorities. It is for this panel to decide on the appropriate action for the application, taking into account all the evidence brought to your attention, both written or otherwise, alongside the Licensing Act 2003 and its associated guidance. The panel can decide to grant the licence as applied for, amend the application, amend or add conditions, or refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Franco. Can I ask the applicant to put their case across, please? Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for hearing this application for a news store. We're looking to open January next year, and I've got with me the store manager, so if there's any questions specifically around the store, he'll be able to answer those. He's been with Tesco since 2006 and a store manager for 11 years, as well as the DPS, and currently he's in the Strood Express. So as Tesco, we have over 2,800 stores across the country, and we employ about 300,000 people. We have two formats, so we have our large format and our express format, and this is going to be a part of our express format, so a convenience top-up shop, and it'll have a limited but very targeted range for the local community. And alcohol is a very small but important part of the overall business. We will look to employ about 20 colleagues in this store, as well as like 4 as a part of the management team, and that'll be a mixture of full-time and part-time roles. And the roles will be advertised for people in the local community first, so they will get preference over people that are further away. And recruitment will start about 4 weeks before the store's due to open. In terms of, we have a good neighbour policy, which is exactly as it kind of sounds. Like, we intend to be a good neighbour to all of the residents that are local. That includes things like, if there are any issues, then we're looking at understanding what the issues are, so that we can nip any problems in the bud. And hopefully, if there's a local residents association or any groups locally, we'll be happy to join those. From a national point, we take how we sell alcohol within any community incredibly seriously, and we champion good practice and actually lead the way in best practice. We've got a very good relationship with the statutory authorities. I chair a retail alcohol standards group, which looks at how we sell alcohol as an industry, so with all of the other retailers, including online businesses and kind of wine merchants as well. As a part of community alcohol partnerships, we also add in local independent retailers and encourage them to have practices like Challenge 25. We work closely with the Home Office and Department of Health around policies that will be out from there. We have a really good relationship with our primary authority, and they endorse all of our practices and policies that we have. Our training has been endorsed by the BII as what excellent looks like, and all training is documented and has an audit compliance, as you would expect from a business like ours. We're training specifically for alcohol sales is given at induction when somebody starts, and then refresher training is given twice a year, as well as regular comms kind of throughout that time. As a part of it, we also have security training. We recognise that alcohol is sometimes a product that people may, want to steal. So there's additional security kind of focusing on alcohol. We have a Think 25 policy, which means that anyone under 25 will be asked for ID, and that's an approved ID as well. So again, we follow the Home Office guidelines around what approved ID is. And part of the training is also helping our team recognise somebody who is drunk, and so that we don't sell any alcohol to someone that's had a bit too much already. Training's also focused on proxy sales, so anybody that's over 18 sometimes may buy alcohol for somebody under 18, and we refuse those sales, or actually ask everybody in the group for ID if they're in together. Most importantly, we empower our teams to make the right decisions. So if they have challenged somebody for ID and we go and think actually that person looks older, we wouldn't have challenged them. We won't overrule our team. It may be they need a bit more training, but we'll always support our team if they've asked for ID. So, the policy is you say no, we say no. And when alcohol's scanned through the checkout, there's a prompt that comes up with a date of birth, and that helps our cashiers understand what date of birth they should be looking for on any ID. And then there's a yes or no, as in, are they going to allow the sale to go through or not? So they can't do anything unless they've answered that question. In terms of security, we have cameras. We will be linked to what's known as the Hub, which is a great big office in Daventry. And all of the CCTV is kind of being watched by operators, and that works with the police. So if there's any issues that we have around crime, then the hub will pull together all of the statements, all of the CCTV, and that's sent to the police. So they've got everything that they need. We will tag our high-value items, and spirits will be behind the counter. Our teams will also be wearing body cams and headsets as well, so they can communicate to each other. And they're also empowered, like the store managers. If they need to close the store for any reason, they can do that. And that usually happens where there's a football match going on, and we're just encouraging people to kind of leave the area. We'll close the store for a period of time. There's a central licensing team that will support the store as well as compliance teams and a security team. The range that we'll have in the store is very carefully picked for the store, and it's a limited range as well. The promotions are only national promotions. We don't have any local promotions from the store. The late night refreshment as well is for a Costa machine. So we'll have a Costa coffee machine, and because of some weird thing within the law, because it's paid for at the checkout and not within the machine, it's classed as we need a late night refreshment license for that. So we're not planning on selling alcohol, selling kebabs or anything like that late. It is just for that coffee machine. And I'd like to kind of thank the objectors, thank the residents for their objections and bringing their concerns to us. And I hope that I've been able to kind of talk through some of those. And the store manager will be happy to kind of work through any local issues as and when they arise. So in terms of kind of addressing those that have, because some of the comments within the objections are outside of the Licensing Act. In terms of hours, that had kind of come up around why 6 till midnight. We often open stores 6 till midnight and then kind of review the footfall. If the footfall isn't there, then we kind of reduce the hours for the store. In terms of noise, I mean, we're not expecting a large footfall at that time of night. We'll ask customers to leave quietly, and if they're still causing issues, or it's the same people that are causing issues, we just won't sell them anything. We won't let them come into our shop to buy anything if they're not kind of adhering to the behaviours, if they're making a lot of noise. We won't be selling alcohol to anyone that's drunk anyway. I mean, that's so clear in all of our policies, and we have, that it's so ingrained within the training. In terms of antisocial behaviour, we haven't had any objections from the police, and I think appropriate weight should be given to that because they are the custodians of crime and disorder. And certainly, if any issues come up, then the police would normally come and talk to me about any issues, and then we would work together to kind of resolve those. In terms of litter, we'll have bins that will be outside our store, and they will be emptied on a regular basis. That's done within our teams in the store, so we don't wait for any housekeeping teams to come up. That's done within the store. So in terms of there's nothing in your statement of licensing policy that says the licence shouldn't be granted as it's applied for, and it's in line with the Section 182 guidance, where there's not a presumption under the Act to restrict unless there's good reason or evidence to do so. So I guess there's no evidence to suggest that the licence hours that have been applied for should be reduced. And each application, as you're aware, is granted on its own merits, and not to kind of take into account what other businesses are doing in the area. And again, like I said, there's been no objections from the police, and appropriate weight should be given to that. Myself and Ashraf are ready for any questions that you may have from us.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for your overview there. I'm now going to ask for the objectors if they'd like to ask any questions. Sue, Maureen, would you like to ask any questions following the line of your letter of objections as well, if you can? Thank you.
Just to clarify, you do intend to sell alcohol past 10 p.m? That's the main issue for me. Do I have a chance to explain that now?
It's the questions and then we will come.
Okay.
Maureen, anything?
Yeah. I have no questions yet. What you've said is all very commendable, but how we feel probably doesn't fit with some of the things you've said, but we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel? Councillor Sands?
What you said, sorry, is that alcohol is a small part of your business. The hours you're extending are longer than your closest store. So what's the difference between the store half a mile away and this store? Because it seems to me for something that you said is a small part of your business, it's a hell of a lot of time to be open.
I guess that we work on footfall, and if the footfall is not going to be there, then it doesn't make sense, does it, to open later when nobody's coming in? So we often will open our stores 6 till midnight, and then if the footfall isn't there, then we look at reducing the hours.
Yeah, I understand that, I suppose, but of course, I'm not sure how many people come into a store at 6 o'clock in the morning to buy alcohol. I'm sure you've got figures, but I don't understand that. And I do worry that what we're doing, we're just adding to this problem of alcohol sales into an area, a very small area. And I went to the area twice last week, and there is antisocial behaviour going on. It happens everywhere. So for the police to say there's no antisocial behaviour, I think is wrong. I also worry that through what you've mentioned there, you didn't mention anything about domestic abuse, which we know that alcohol fuels domestic abuse. And there we are opening another outlet for alcohol without even a mention of domestic abuse. And just one other thing, and I'm not blaming you for this, but whenever I've been to a Tesco's, you have some very young staff on tills, and I worry about the safety of young staff. You know, they might have a body camera on, but that just catches the action. It doesn't stop the action in most cases. So I worry about that as well. But to be honest, I just don't understand that this whole 6 o'clock midnight. It doesn't work for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sands. Councillor Brown?
Yeah. I had the same question about the length of the hours. You must have done some market research that suggests that you know from the demographics in the area what to stock and the hours. Now, I can understand maybe wanting to catch people going to work for a sandwich or something like that. But I'm like Councillor Sands. I can't figure out why we would want to license a premises from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. Monday to Sunday. There's no rhyme nor reason to that. Especially the Sunday hours. I have no idea why you think that's appropriate on a Sunday. But I do understand from a logistics point of view, you're a national business and you have a formula. And this is your formula to start a new site. For want of a better word, this is just another site on your footprint. You have your methodology. You have quite rightly pointed out that we don't have any official objections from the police. But we do actually have objections from people who live in the area. We do know from personal witnessing there's antisocial behaviour in the area. Now, while it is our job to protect the public and to achieve the 4 licensing objectives, I would ask you to reconsider your hours, even in this meeting, because, to be honest with you, I think they're excessive.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I've got some questions, actually. So the first...
I should have asked that as a question.
That's okay.
Will you consider the hours?
Do you want to come back to that? Do you want to
I'd like to have the application as it stands. The other stores that we have locally all have, licenses for their opening hours, and just because we have a license at 6 in the morning or at midnight doesn't mean that we're going to be selling excessive amounts of alcohol at those times. It's more about people's habits, that they sometimes won't go into a shop because there isn't the alcohol available, and it becomes a habit then not to go to that shop. So it's more around being able to offer the whole range to people that may want to come in. There are we also find in some areas people are finishing a night shift, and for them a night shift then in the morning, that's when they will have a can of beer when they get home, rather than before they go to work later on in the evening. So it's just kind of catering for every type of customer that we have.
Can I just ask, following on from my colleagues' questions, have you worked out the footfall of how important that the alcohol sales would be during those times? You must have stats, because as a business, you'll go in there and you'll work out the area that you serve and what you feel that footfall is going to be for alcohol. I mean, I get the shopping at 6, I get coming in for shopping and all of that, but the footfall for alcohol, because you said you do a very limited, targeted range in your store. How important is the alcohol?
Like I said, it's more about having that full range for everybody. So whether if somebody can't come in and buy alcohol at that time, I don't know, say they want to buy a gift for somebody at work or something, then in terms of shopping habits, they will then go elsewhere. Then they will go to another shop and actually won't come to us. I guess it's not problematic generally in all of our other stores where we have this. If it becomes problematic, and we intend to work really closely with the residents, we don't want to come in and cause more problems in the area. If it becomes problematic, we can reconsider our hours. And we will have done that in other areas where actually it's attracting the kind of customer we don't want. So one of the ways is then to change our hours. But actually, we don't have those issues in this area.
You can pull the mic towards you, by the way, instead of having to reach over. You're allowed to move it, it's fine. I think my question was, what is the work you've done in this area to come in with a full-blown statement from 6 o'clock till midnight, you're going to sell alcohol? What research has the company done to show that, well, you've only got a store a couple of minutes down the road. So what research have you done to show that have you got them stats?
I don't have those stats. I guess the business they come to me with the hours that they will be open. And that's the licence that I will apply for our opening hours in line with the Section 182 guidance.
So it is, this is a statement from me, not a question, so it is just come in with this open licensing thing and then see where it goes, I think. But you have got a store just down the road, and tell me if I'm wrong, that's not licensed till midnight, is it?
No, that's licensed till 11 o'clock.
From 6 a.m.?
Yes, yeah. The majority of stores in the area are licensed from 6 till 11.
But you've gone in with a midnight one here, just 2 minutes up the road. So just a little bit on the induction and training. You're going to advertise, you're opening in January, mid-January. You're going to advertise for staff 4 weeks before. How long is, by the time you recruit, how long is that induction and training, especially around alcohol? How long is that intense training you do? Is it a day? Is it half a day? What is it?
So there's an induction which is a day, so it's a day's induction, and then there's separate training on checkouts and the shop floor, which all involves how you sell alcohol to people, how you ask for ID. There's lots of kind of role play and all that is involved. People aren't left alone, so our store teams aren't left alone until they're absolutely happy with how they make their sales. In a store this size as well, you kind of hear what's going on. So there's always support around to help. So if somebody's struggling at the checkout, somebody else will kind of come along to support, or one of the managers will.
Okay, and just going on from Councillor Sand's comment, it does surprise me many people that come to these panels don't mention the impact of domestic abuse. We know it's a key part of I'm not saying shops shouldn't sell alcohol because of it, but we know it's a key it's a key part to violence in the home. What sort of work do you do around that in Tesco around alcohol? You're coming in at this carte blanche 6 till midnight. Let's go for it, 6 in the morning for those people that are coming home from, I'm not judging people if they want to do that, but let's come home from work at 5:45 and pop into Tesco's for a beer. And then midnight. What is your responsible approach to that?
I've done work around street drinking more so than I guess. It's kind of understanding where we can help or what we can do to support some of this. But I've done work around street drinking, and I guess that's a little bit easier to see because any street drinkers in the area, our store teams get to know them very quickly. And if some street drinkers don't cause any problems, but others actually become antisocial. So if they're antisocial, then we don't sell alcohol to them. And I guess the other end, it's difficult to know. It's how do we? If we know, then we can refuse. We can refuse to sell alcohol to anybody that we choose to. But it's the knowing part of it.
So Tesco's really haven't done any work with regards to the victims at home and responsible care, social care of your organisation and making sure that, I know you can't see it, but when you've got availability of drink going from 6 a.m. till midnight, the impact on those homes are intense. Surely you can see that they are.
I personally haven't done any work, but I'm sure there will be different teams. And I work closely with the Department of Health as well, but nobody has kind of come to us with this is what we want you to do, because where we work with the Home Office and they will say, like, this is what we want you to do, we can implement things, but it's difficult to implement things in a standalone. That, where's the solution for this? And actually, if there is something, we would absolutely love to help.
But we're not here to talk about other ones, but when you go to other ones where you have got the statutory objectors, i.e. the police, or you haven't on this one, but when you do have, one of the questions they will come up with all the time is about, they're worried about that stuff at home, they're worried about that drinking, they're worried about the impact. I'm surprised, maybe nationally they have, but I'm surprised it isn't one of your key things when you come in. Can I just ask, have you had any conversations with the police locally about this licence?
No, I haven't. Normally, if there's an objection, then I'll have those conversations with them at that point. Okay,
so this could be where the police haven't even noticed it's here or going forward. My last one, sorry, is just a technical one around, I'm just a bit confused, maybe yourself or the licensing officer will be able to help me. Are you saying that you're only going for the late night refreshment because of the cost of the machine? Otherwise, you wouldn't be going for that late night?
Yeah, and happy if you need to add a condition in to say it's only a coffee machine that we will have, then I'm happy with that because that's all it will be.
Yeah, but you're still wanting to serve alcohol late anyway. So the condition would say it's only coffee, but you still get alcohol.
Yeah, so there's two things. So you've got the alcohol licence and then late night refreshment licence.
That's Councillor Sands.
Yeah, sorry. I was quite surprised you talk about street drinkers, and it came across to me that you think that people who are drinking in the streets are the ones that are going to do the domestic violence, when we know that is nothing like that. I can't understand why a company as large as Tesco's can't have signage around. You know, if you have a problem with alcohol, you can call this number. If you have a problem with domestic violence, you can call this number. They don't have that there, and I think that's something that you, as a major company, should take on. Just two more quickly. Staff numbers at night. So how many members of staff are on after 10 o'clock?
There'll probably be about 3.
3. That's you know, and 3 with a possible aggressive alcohol man or woman. That's the worry I have about opening so late. I just have this worry. Sorry, Chair.
No, it's fine.
We don't get these issues. So the experience that we have in our other stores is we don't get these issues. If there was a problem, then we would increase our store team, but we don't get the issues.
Councillor Brown?
Sorry. Yeah, I just want to come back to my surprise in one way, that Tesco's, as one of the largest employers in the country, wouldn't come with an application that would say that they have awareness of national, and I'm talking national, advertised on TV, programs like Ask for Angela, that there is no reference made positively around the domestic abuse. And I would respectfully ask that when you're speaking to others, that we brought this up, that you note that actually you talk about being a good neighbour. If you're a good neighbour and you haven't even looked at some of the stuff that's a national policy, a national campaign, I really think that is paying lip service to being a good neighbour. So I would suggest that when we hear from the objectors, that we take that on board.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I am surprised, but I do understand from you as well. You can't see what goes on behind the doors. But exactly what Councillor Brown was saying, good neighbours means protecting your community that you serve as well. And even if you can't see what's going on behind the doors, you all know, and anyone that's going to be the supervisor, the alcohol, all that training knows that once people are having those drinks, the pain it will bring. But we're talking about an invisible pain for residents, but it should be something that I would have thought would have been in your Good Neighbour programme. Okay, thank you, members. I'm going to go to the objectors now for... sorry, is there anything from the licensing officer? Did you have any questions for it? Okay. Sue, would you like to go first with your overview for your objection?
First of all, could I just, going back to your statement about the night worker who might want to come home and buy a beer on their way home, that is me. I've been a night worker for over 20 years. I don't buy alcohol on my way home. I don't know anybody else who does. I work with lots of people who work permanent nights. Okay. So I've lots of several notes here, but they're all sort of all over the place. I might seem a bit scatty. But I did a local search to see how many other places were licensed in the area. And in my estimation, there's already 19 licensed outlets selling alcohol within a 2.5 mile radius of the proposed site. These include supermarkets, convenience stores, pubs, social clubs and garages, each already serving the needs of the local community. So given this density, it's difficult to see how an additional late night alcohol licence would serve a genuine public need. I think on the contrary, it risks undermining the balance between accessibility and community well-being, also based on the fact that the front doors of this store are going to be facing 4 neighbouring houses just a few steps away. It's the availability in my area for alcohol and late alcohol. It does already contribute to antisocial behaviour. We have the local shops at Admiral's Walk that does attract that youth element who want to hang outside the doors and ask for cigarettes and alcohol. My biggest concern, I think, is that of all of those licensed premises around us, there's not going to be anybody. I'm not sure about Asda, the large Asda near us. But other than that, I'm not sure how many others serve until midnight. And I think for those others that don't, it's going to bring people to us for those extra couple of hours of being able to buy it. I just think that's unnecessary.
Members, are you content to have both objectors go at the same time with any? Yep. Rather than asking individual, we'll ask both questions at the end. Is that, Maureen, would you like to?
I'm going to read from mine. I'm so sorry. I'm not good at retaining things. So, and I only made 2 copies of what I'm reading. I didn't realise this was going to be this big. So I wonder if I might supply.
Yep. You're content with that? Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you.
So that you can see what I'm on about.
Yeah.
I have, you mentioned a 2.5 radius. Mine is, I have based my findings on more local, completely more local. So I'm just going to straightforward read and you can see what I'm reading about. I'm basing my objections around the 4 licensing rules. So objective number 1, I just want to say by 2016, a lot of these figures are quite old. I found that I could find figures for 21-22 or 2021, but more recent figures that throughout this that I've printed are quite hard because some of them aren't, they're printed every 3 years or something, they come out, you know. Yeah. So I'm basing on the 4 objectives. Up-to-date figures, by 2016, Medway as a whole had 840 licensed premises. That was 9 years ago, so there's loads more now. I could find loads of licensing information on taxis and hire cars and on gambling, but not so for alcohol. It seemed to be very difficult to find up-to-date alcohol figures, but they will be more than 840 licensed premises in Medway. And my concerns are also based on the fact that Medway Council has in force a CIA assessment, which is either, depending on what document you read, a cumulative or a community impact assessment in certain parts of Medway. And Lordswood is in quite close proximity to one of those already along the Luton Road. So, you know, we're kind of on the border of an area that's already got a CIA in place. Objective number 1, the prevention of crime and disorder. Using the following website, I've got the website on there, sorry if I haven't given you, you're quite welcome to look at this. It was a Kent Police website. I investigated the recorded crime figures for the Lordswood area, which actually appear to be quite low, but we all know about under-reporting, and we all know that people don't bother to phone the police because sometimes the police can't do anything about it, and sometimes they don't even come out. So, 60 crimes in total. I compared July 2024 to July 2025. Yeah. 60 crimes in total in 2024. This is just in Lordswood. 86 crimes in 2025. Of these, they broke down antisocial behaviour. 2024 was 23 crimes. Antisocial behaviour in 2025 was 28 crimes. Violence and sexual crime was 16 a year ago. It's 28 this year. Criminal damage and arson was 5 a year ago. It's 11 this year. All other crimes, 16 a year ago, 19 this year. It should be remembered, well, I've told you about the underreporting. So I was just wondering if the applicant, and these are questions which you can answer, can prove or demonstrate that there will be no rise in crime numbers as a result of providing more alcohol, and what they do to ensure that this does not happen, and what are their intentions to rectify the crime where it definitely will occur, because the CCTV that you may have in operation will only cover the immediate shop vicinity. It won't cover my house, like 50 yards down the road. And no matter if a member of the management team is always present, we hear nowadays, going back to Councillor Sand's concerns, about how shop staff are reluctant to address any nasty things going on because of fear for their own safety, and some of them are very young, and they employ young people because they're cheap. Just want to retract a little bit. The list of alcohol outlets that Sue investigated was wider than mine. This sheet that you've got shows already the alcohol outlets that are immediately around 614 Lordswood Lane, and within a radius, the greatest radius is 1.6 miles. There are 8 on there. Added to that, there are 3 premises. There's a pub and a leisure centre and a bowling club. So that's 3 more, as well as the 8 that's already on there, plus the garage next to Morrison's, which is only 1.6 miles away. That has got a licensing appeal going on as we speak, so there's another outlet coming. And the garage has got a pub in between the big Morrison's. We are saturated with alcohol outlets. Moving on to objection number 2, the protection of public safety. Many and various studies have concluded that excessive alcohol consumption is very closely linked to antisocial behaviours and aggressive actions. Both of these threaten public safety. Also, selling alcohol to drivers, because your staff, however well trained they are, won't know whether that person walking in has driven there or not, could lead to a rise in drink driving offences, which would certainly endanger public safety. Increased traffic flow for deliveries and rubbish collection will pose added dangers for the young and the elderly when negotiating crossing that busy road. The large 2-form entry primary school directly opposite the premises, plus the 2 day nurseries, already present serious congestion at drop-off and pick-up times, as happens when the school is holding functions. The area in question houses many elderly residents and a good sprinkling of young families. Given the saturation of premises already licensed to sell alcohol in the area, I feel that the request to further expose this community to all of those things, the noise, the traffic flow, everything else I've mentioned, is ill thought through. I think it's ill thought through. And alas, objective number 2 stops short of saying public health and safety. It just says public safety. Now, I can't do anything, and neither can you, about changing the licensing laws, but I do think it's time they were changed. I think they're outdated. And it does not address this application adequately. Alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen, the same as tobacco and the same as asbestos. The Medway Public Health Report, this one, outlines many sobering points. For instance, on the front here it says, several areas in Medway have a greater density of off-licence than any other premises. And part 4 says, we know from interviewing the owners of these shops that the sale of alcohol, and in particular super strength products, is vital to their business model. We understand that. We know that you can't run that shop without selling alcohol. And it is not unknown for shops to close when they stop selling these products because they can't make the profit without these sales. We understand that. Going over the page, at part 8, alcohol-related crime and disorder. By the way, this is a Medway Public Health. It's not national. It says, alcohol-related crime and disorder data from Kent Police shows that the same deprived areas, ours isn't a deprived area yet, but could become so with this saturation, have the highest rates of public order. And I would concur with whoever it was that said the police are always there, because there are, just the other day I walked round, the police were parked right outside that very building. So there is something going on, whether or not you've actually heard from the police. Going over to part 11, the strategy of this, the people that wrote this, says that preventing alcohol-related crime and disorder requires concerted action by all within a stake in the successful operation of the evening and night economy. So it's more or less saying, you know, you've got to be really responsible. The off-trade and consumed, there is no reference to the crime linked to alcohol brought from the off-trade and consumed away from licensed premises. So there's no figures. You can buy a drink in Tesco's, but then you take the can or the cans away and you can drink them a long way away, and they don't seem to have any references made to that. But there is evidence linked to domestic abuse and antisocial behaviour, underage drinking, and the associated risky behaviour that goes with that. I've gone on for long enough about that one. Subjective number 2. So Tesco's say, with objective number 2, Tesco's say, the premises licence holder is fully aware of its responsibilities under a range of health and safety regulation and has policies and procedures in place, which you've already said, and that's very admirable. Tesco say that, I would say, what about the public safety of those residents of the area that aren't actually buying the alcohol? Because your policies tend to refer to the people that are actually buying the alcohol. We are the people that live around that area and suffer the consequences of it. Objective number 3, the prevention of public nuisance. Oh, just as an aside, before I move on to number 3, this one in number 2, this is from the Medway Council Health and Adult Social Care Overview and Scrutiny. This is a more recent one, January 2022. It actually says, it's about alcohol-specific deaths. It says that deaths from alcohol in Medway are below the average, but there is an increasing trend. It goes on to say, excuse me, alcohol-specific mortality indicates deaths that are clearly linked to alcohol use. These are now reported on a 1-year basis rather than a 3-year basis. Medway is currently just above, it's above the average of England and shows a rising trend. It sort of points to the fact that we don't actually need to keep opening places where they sell alcohol. Objective number 3, the public nuisance. Right, this one, I can speak with some, I can actually speak with some authority on this because I am a member of this litter group. And if you look at the pictures at the back, I've put on there as well. I think you can probably...
Sorry, Chair, I'm going to have to interject here. It's an awful lot of information you're providing with facts and figures. You're referencing crime statistics, but in reality, that document you've submitted with all the facts you're speaking about really ought to have been served prior to today in a written document, at least 7 to 14 days beforehand. It's not giving the applicant actually much time to respond to what you're submitting. So
Would you like me to stop on the facts and figures?
Sorry, just going off of that, I did look at members because I can adjourn and everyone can read it. Yeah. So I can adjourn. My point of view is that the objectors had a chance to ask questions. Obviously, the applicant doesn't have to answer the direct questions. You're just coming back on content. That was the reason we went on. But I can, if members wanted to, I can adjourn. If you really do want to read the pack, you can adjourn. But I do take exactly what you're saying, although I will say as well, them stats are probably could be worse or could be totally different now.
Yeah, so in effect, you because it's quasi-judicial, you give it whatever weight you deem appropriate. But equally, the applicant does have a right to object and to make relevant representations regarding what's being submitted now.
But just for exactly right. But just for I was going on to that after Maureen finished speaking, and I was going to ask if you was content or if you wanted to read, or maybe you won't comment. It's entirely up to you to do that. But Would you like to look at these papers and spend adjourn for slightly, because we haven't read them properly, we're just hearing what's being said. But that being said, some of these stats, and Maureen, it's a brilliant pack you're putting forward. Some of the stats couldn't be totally relied on because they are from quite a few, three years ago. And I understand what you're saying, but where would you like to go with this?
I guess my comment on this would have been that it's new evidence and and I'm not going to be able to comment on it. I guess even if it's adjourned, there's probably stuff that is going to need longer than, time today to kind of go back and just have a look at these. So I was going to ask whether actually it's not taken into account because it's new evidence and we've not had an opportunity to kind of scrutinise it.
I think that's fair. The only thing I would say, I suppose, it aligns to the objection, but it's the stats that we would have to we would have to take as just read, but we haven't had time to read either. So we were purely Maureen go on the objection that was sent in. This is just Maureen's statement of adding on to the objector's part, but we won't. And I wasn't going to adjourn the meeting. I was going to just hold. I wasn't going to adjourn and come back another day. We would have had time to look at it. But if we just finish the part, but we will take on board what you've said as well. And Maureen, you can.
Right. So do you want me to leave out the stats or?
You can just finish.
Okay. So just on objective number 3, the prevention of public nuisance, the litter problem. There's a persistent, huge litter problem in the area, and it will definitely be exacerbated by another premises selling alcohol to be concerned off-site. A bin outside the shop is all very nice, but all the bins have got, all the shops have got, the shops that are there presently have all got bins, and it doesn't stop the problem. Noise levels will certainly increase from the lorries delivering to general vocal noise, and youths will definitely gather around the premises, as they already do in Admiral's Walk, which is only 200 yards away. The elderly folk in the immediate vicinity are at the greatest risk of disturbance and may well suffer increasing levels of fear and anxiety. Despite claiming sufficient underground parking, there won't be, because parking around the surrounding streets is already at overload, with many vehicles on the pavements and the green verges. This facility will compound that and cause a public nuisance. The company's good neighbour ethos, which is what you state, will do nothing to soothe the nerves of local people being disturbed or frightened in the late hours at night, and even in the daytime. Really, once a person is inebriated, they don't know what time of day it is. So, moving on to objective 4, the protection of children from harm. This policy, I think this policy appears, your policies with the protection of children from harm appear to relate mainly to the purchasers of alcohol, again, not the people that actually live around there. This shop, as mentioned before, will be dead opposite a primary school and 2 nurseries. I have personally witnessed parents frequenting the garage and Morrison's daily, though both of those are already in situ in Admiral's Walk, supplying their children with hot sausage rolls and cans of energy drink on their way to school at 8:45 a.m. Not alcohol, I haven't seen that, but I've seen the other. Further access to such amenities can only help harm both the physical and the mental health of those children, of those hapless parents. Children will be exposed, if the licence is all day, to adults drinking on the street. They will be exposed to littering the streets, and they will sometimes be exposed to adults behaving in an unrestrained fashion on the streets. And the children will eventually become hardened to this, and they will become accepting of it, and that's not right. So then I got some more statistics, which you may or may not want me to read out. But
I think we leave, if you don't do the statistics,
the statistics I found did indicate that there were a lot of children in England as a whole undergoing addiction treatments because of substances, and I looked at the alcohol ones, and some of these statistics will be Medway children, and I just wonder, do we actually need to encourage them and show them any more drink? I'm just trying to avoid all the statistic bit now. So returning to Medway solely, the Institute of Alcohol Studies in Medway give a whole shed load, and it's in the pack I've given you, of figures that break down and show you exactly how much we are spending, the NHS is spending. In Medway only, it totals £177 million, and that's broken down with things like ambulance calls and admissions to A&E and all the other stuff that goes with it. Social services even spend £14 million in Medway alone, mopping up the effects of alcohol already. And I don't really think I can go any further with that because it's all... thank you for listening.
Thank you, Maureen. If you just turn your microphone.
Yeah, sorry, Chair.
There are a couple of things I'm going to clarify.
Yeah, I know. I just want to clarify something, and actually it's more for the applicant. What are you objecting to the licence in its whole, in its entirety, or simply the hours?
I've truly come here knowing that we don't stand a hope in anything of getting rid of the alcohol. No, I'm not anti-alcohol. I'm definitely objecting to the length of hours, but I actually don't believe that we need another outlet there when there are so many around for alcohol. I'm absolutely up for the area being tidied up. That pub was burnt down in 2017. It's been a long time. It needs doing. And I've no objections to a Tesco. I object to yet another alcohol.
Thank you, Maureen. If you just take my phone, and Venky, just for your benefit as well, I was going to say, obviously, we're not a planning department. Planning is done. So I do understand it. The only other couple of things that I want to say is, obviously, the store isn't in the SIP area. So otherwise, we would be in a very different meeting. So I just want to make sure you was right in saying you're close to it, but I just want to clarify this store isn't in a SIP area. It's questions really, if anything. Obviously, anything you've heard you can use in your summing up if you want to. But we are focusing on. It was put across really well, but because we are an official panel, we have to be very careful on what we haven't read and what we've seen. The panel, I can assure the applicant, the panel is focused on objection 1 or objection 2. We're looking at the objections in the pack. Is there any questions you'd like to ask, Resident?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Members, any questions for both Sue and Maureen? Okay. Would you like, I go to you first for the sum up, or would you like me to go to the objectors? Would you like to add anything else you've said, Sue?
Something that hasn't been discussed is the fact that there are 8 flats above this property as well. And if that licence is going on till midnight, that's certainly going to affect the well-being of those residents. Could I also say as well that separate from this, there is another issue that we'll be raising with the Tesco brand regarding its access doors, but I know that's not for this meeting.
Yeah, I think the applicant has already said that once the store is open in that communication with local residents and yourself, and then would be very open if there's stuff with that issue. We're focusing on the licensing hours today, Sue, so that's what we need to... Anything to add, Maureen? Nothing to time? Okay. Would you like to go for your summing up, please?
Just want to kind of say thank you. Really, it's not working. Appreciate the amount of work that you've kind of put in, especially kind of to the additional bits. But I guess it was just new evidence, and I can't comment on that. And I just kind of wanted to point out there was lots of comments around competition. Just competition doesn't matter how many premises there are in the area. That isn't kind of the focus on what the licence should be based on at all. I think, and again, just to kind of comment, alcohol isn't to be, when people buy it from a Tesco, it's not to drink immediately. They take it home or they take it away. If people are drinking it in the vicinity, that's when I guess it's a little bit more in our control and we can do something about it and we can move people on. And like I said, we can refuse refuse those sales. We will do whatever we can that is in our control and that's in our vicinity. And we would really welcome the residents to almost also be our eyes and ears of what's going on, because we won't see everything. So we're hoping to work really well with the local residents. So if there are issues, we're in a position to be able to sort them out. And I guess the comment about the flats above, we haven't had any objections from the flats above, so I think appropriate weight should be kind of attached to a lot of the comments that have been made. I hope that I've been able to demonstrate that we are an excellent operator, and we've got a history of partnership working, and we've got policies and practices in place that will uphold the licensing objectives, and it's going back to the licensing objectives and focusing on those, because that's what we're here to do. As you've already rightly mentioned, we're not kind of in a CIP or a CIZ area, and there is also the process of a review. You know, I don't want to be back here up in front of you in a review, and residents do have the right to bring that review if we're not behaving well. You know, if we're kind of breaking, you know, doing things that we shouldn't be doing, and I don't want to be up in front of the residents explaining why I'm not sticking to the things that I said that we would do. And I guess my last point really would be that if the police had any concerns, they would have raised an objection. They certainly would, they absolutely do. Where they've got a concern with an application, they absolutely raise an objection. And it isn't one that kind of passes them by, even if it's just one that they kind of hold. I have conversations with the police all of the time, up and down the country, where they do raise issues. So I think you do need to attach appropriate weight to the fact that there are no objections from the police. And again, just referring back to the Section 182 guidance, that kind of licensing shouldn't be used as a mechanism where other legal entities can uphold that part of the law. You know, we will be responsible for the vicinity of our store, and like I said, we'll work with the residents to where things are going a little bit skew further afield, because we're in a position where we can refuse sales. I think that's really all I had to say. Thank you for hearing the application.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for all of those that have spoken today. I'm going to adjourn now, and we will be making a decision this morning. So if you'd like to just leave for one, we'll call you back in when we've made that decision. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you so much for your time in just being patient and waiting for us to make a decision. So this is a new premises licence application for Tesco Express 614 Lordswood Lane, Chatham, Kent, ME5 8QX. When considering this application, the panel has had due regard to Medway Council's licensing policy, the Licensing Act 2003, particularly the licensing objectives and guidance issued under Section 182 of the Act, together with supporting regulations. The Licensing Committee has listened carefully to all the written and oral representations from the applicant and the objectors to the application. Appropriate consideration was given to the written submissions only provided during the meeting by the objectors. There were no representations from the responsible authorities. The committee is satisfied this application upholds the 4 licensing objectives and has decided to grant the licence application, but upon reduced hours. The granting of the licensing as per the standard conditions in the written application, but with alcohol sales only permitted between the hours of 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. This is to address the concerns of the immediate locality and to reflect the views of the neighbouring residents. That's our decision. The written decision will be with you within five working days. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thanks so much.